We're already recording on Zoom. It takes a second to get going on YouTube. And
Sure.
then hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rabbi Interviews. Hope you are safe and sound. Hope you're doing well. I know sometimes we don't start exactly because of the way YouTube is set up in Zoom, so we want to make sure to get everybody on board. But today, I have the true pleasure of interviewing a good friend of mine, Mr. Bill Cooper. Many of you may know him, some of you may not. He is famous in Savannah for being an actor, for being a comedian, for his wonderful radio show, 5 o'clock on Sundays on WRUU, which he interviews people. He'll be interviewing me this Sunday at 5 o'clock during the Super Bowl, because obviously he knew I would say yes, even though I do love football, but that's a whole nother story. So Bill, it's a real pleasure to have you. He was just talking a little bit about his background. And so on this show, we like to interview interesting people in the area. So why don't you talk about your background again, where you came from and how you came to Savannah?
Okay, I was born in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I always like to throw in the same place Betty Davis was born and Jack Kerouac, that Ed McMahon grew up in, and there were other famous people. James Whistler, famous for painting his mother. And there was just to me, it was wow, it was impressive that many famous people came from that little city. And it was a small city. I don't think it ever went much over 100,000, then it dropped. It was a mill city. And when the mills were closing down and moving first down south and then out of the country, it really hit Lowell hard. I mean, there was just a bunch of abandoned buildings in that. But the community there, the people there were super nice people. I mean, just about everyone got along. And, you can't say that 100% about anything. And that impressed me. It gave me a good start in life. That with good parents who insisted that I treat people decently. Don't treat them bad. You might find out you made a huge mistake. This was a decent person that you're ignoring. So anyway, that's my background as a young person. And when I grew up, I worked in the post office for 29 years, and they offered an early out. The first time they ever offered a reduced age one, you had to be 55. I was 48, and I had enough years in to retire. So I did. I just said, see you later. Thanks for the memories. And I ended up, and I worked in the Boston area in the post office. I started carrying mail, and then I got promoted a couple of times to a superintendent. But anyway, it was time to go. It was time to do other things. And that was the same year that Mary Ann and I married. And so we've been together 29 years now. And the first 5 years, we bought a new truck, a new trailer, and traveled the country 3 months at a time, then 4, then 5. It was like fabulous. And that was pre-cell phone. We'd just jump in and take off. And then we got to a campground, maybe a couple of weeks later, we'd call one of our friends or relatives and just say, we're going to be here for a while. And we'd send postcards. So that brought up the name of my little, I don't know if you call it a podcast or what, on YouTube, Postcards from Lowell. Very proud of that. Last April, Mary Ann, I, and my buddy, Chad Carvel from the station and from the Odd Lot group, we started this 15-minute podcast in April because I said, too many people are feeling down because of this corona. It's a serious thing. I'm not... Hold on 1 second. I have to get this. Mary Ann's been expecting this call and she's out. Can you hold on 1 sec?
Of course.
All right, thank
While
you.
we're holding out, I want to make sure everybody knows that Bill is not only a stand-up comedian, kind of like one of the people who mentored me when I first came here and started doing, but he also does improv for one of the groups here. Coincidentally, another one of the member of the group we will be interviewing in a couple of weeks, Sushi, as she is 17 or 18 and just is now going to be recorded for Broadway in a musical she wrote. And so her father is one of the founders, Chris, and so she will be interviewed in a couple of weeks here. And her mother is the organist and soloist for our congregation. So we're kind of all connected here. So throughout the year, I've seen Bill perform his stand-up. In fact, we did some at my house. We did front porch stand-up during the summer. And then I've watched him do improv if I've been a comedian at places where he's been with the group doing improv. And also we live on the exact same block. So we go by his house all the time when we are going to the park. So I was just telling him a little bit about being part of Odd Lot, which is the group you're now part of, because in a couple weeks we're going to interview Sushi, who is also in Odd Lot and whose father founded it, and whose mother is our soloist and our organist at the synagogue. So we're all connected.
Thank you. Again, that was an important phone call.
No worries, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I said, call back in an hour. I have religion on the phone now.
That's right, because that's what I am. When they say religion, they mean me.
Right. Oh, just to correct something, I haven't been associated with Odd Lot for over a year now. I didn't
realize.
6 months with them, and I loved it. It was great training. And I found out from doing stand-up comedy at that time, about 5 or 6 years, there's a huge difference in doing improv. Now, you know me a long time. It doesn't take me long to think up something funny. However, when you have to do it on the spot like that and work with someone else, that's a whole different deal. I loved it. I enjoyed it, but I'm just not doing it anymore. And I get too busy. So
I don't even know if they're doing, I don't know how much they're doing right now because of the pandemic.
They tried it online. They tried it online, but without a live audience, it just doesn't work the same. So, I don't know. I'm sure they're looking forward to coming back because they're very popular in the city. Oh, and you're saying you're having young Susie. I think she's 18 now.
I know she's 17 or 18, and we'll interview her in I think 3 weeks because she just received an offer to record her Broadway show that she wrote.
Amazing.
It's really for a recording company. So that's where we'll talk a little more about that. But as for you, you retire from the post office at 48. I'm going to retire at sometime similar, I'm sure. And then you decided to travel. Right. And what happened after that, and what brought you to Savannah?
Well, first of all, when we started to travel, my son he was out of the Army at that time, but he was in for 4 years and stationed in Savannah. And I had, as I said earlier, I had thought this would be a great city to retire from because I played golf at the time. And I just thought it would be an excellent city and, with warmer winters, obviously. So it was in the back of my mind. But anyway, when Marianne and I were traveling, it was all brand new to us. I never owned a trailer and we took off with it. I didn't even know how to put the heat on. I'm looking through the schematics and everything. I got all the pamphlets and booklets out, and then I realized there's a little button under that says on that I didn't see, and it was that simple. But it was a learning process, but we loved it. We traveled, as I say, we have family in Florida and family in Arizona and family in California. So we would just go in the winter, the southern route after Christmas or the beginning of the year and travel. The first time was for 3 months and it was an amazing adventure. And then the next year we planned it and did it for 4 months and then 5 months. So we're doing about half a year, did that for about 5 years. And then we moved down here. And when we bought the house down here, we got tied up into so many things here. We really weren't using the trailer much. So I sold it, but we loved it. Marianne says, give me 5 minutes and I'll be in one again.
Is it the trailer you actually drove or the one you hook up to a truck?
No, I hooked it up and we bought a new pickup truck. I hooked it up to the truck because if it was an RV, there'd be 7 months a year you're not using it, and it's a mechanical vehicle. So it didn't make sense to us. We just store it down south so we didn't have to winterize it and then go back, drive up north and then come back in after Christmas and pick it up.
Yeah, a good friend of ours and a chef for our congregation's doing the exact same thing. He's buying one of those metal ones, the trailers, I forgot they're called.
Airstream?
Airstream, that's what.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Yeah, so he's really excited. He's going to take some time to travel. So you came to Savannah and obviously you retired. And so you're trying to figure out what you're going to do, what you're going to stay connected to in Savannah. Now, I know a ton of stuff you've done. I mentioned a little bit. So what are some of the things you began to do when you first came here? And then we'll talk a little bit about what you're doing now.
Well, the first one was acting. I had never acted. I was never in a high school play. I have college. I was never in a college play, but I always wanted to try it. So it was down at the Jewish Educational Alliance. They had a play there one time. And this was, oh my gosh, how much was it? About 15 years ago now. And after the play, the director said, we're going to be casting for Into the Woods. It's a musical. And so I just tapped Marianne. I said, I'm going to try out for this. She says, good. And then when I got home, I said, what did I say? I've never acted in my life. This is ridiculous. You know. Anyway, so Monday comes and I'm walking and pacing around. She says, what's the matter? I said, well, tonight's the night of that audition. And all she said was, you said you're going to go. And so I had to go. And as I'm driving there, I'm thinking I have no business coming here unless I give this the very best shot. I didn't know what to expect. I had never been to an audition. And I get there and it was all singing auditions. Everyone brought their music, their sheet music. They gave it to the piano player and he'd play and accompany them. And there I am sitting there, not even knowing that. So there was 60 people there that night and probably another 60 the second night for 19 parts. So after the director took a break and him and the fellow playing the piano were outside and I went to talk to him. I introduced myself. I said, I've never acted in my life. He says, well, don't worry about it. Some of my best actors have been newbies. I said, okay. I said, but and then you have them do the scale before they sing. I says, I've never done the scale. I guess you go from low to high or high to low. He says, why don't you sing first and then we'll do it. I said, okay. So I go in there, I let a couple more go up and then I get up there. And when I walked out on the stage, I'm not kidding you. The only thought was my mind, I am not walking on this stage unless I bought it and paid for it. It's my stage. And I walked out to the edge of it and I looked at the crowd. Now, I was 60 at the time. And I was the oldest one there by 20 years in the room. There was 8-year-olds trying out from 8 to 40 and me. And I said, okay, I got a couple of songs from the 50s. And this is for you old people here. And everyone laughed because they knew I was the only old one there. And I just belted them out. 2 Buddy Holly songs. I love Buddy Holly. And I just wailed. That's from Texas, from your part of the country. Anyway, I just wailed them. And I kind of sneaked a look over to the director and I see him kind of shaking his head. And anyway, I go home. I said, Marianne, if I never do that again, I had the guts to get up there and do it. And I feel that I did very well. So now Thursday comes, he's going to call people on Thursday, let them know if they're in it. And there was a Sand Nats game, the old baseball team that was here. And I said, you know what, I'm going to the game. He ain't going to call. I go to the game. I get back at 10 o'clock. And Marianne said Bob called. And I knew she meant the director because I didn't know anyone else down here. I didn't know you at the time named Bob.
Wasn't here yet.
Yeah. And so I was like this. She says, that's the first time since I've known you that you were speechless. Nothing came out. Then it's funny, Bob, yeah.
I haven't met that person either, so I'm surprised.
So anyway, the long story short, he said, yeah, I got a part for you. Interested? Yeah. And that was my first time acting. It was on a stage I had to sing with chorus, not solo, with a bunch of songs. And then I had 7 lines. They weren't long ones. But, you know, that were dispersed through the play. I loved it. I knew I was born to be there and, you know, and whatever. And I really felt good about it. That led to another play and another. And then we had a friend that lived down the street who worked at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. She says, hey, the people in the film department come in to me. They're always looking for actors. Give me your headshot. I said, what's a headshot? She says, get a picture, an 8x10, and I'll bring it in. So she nagged me into it. I sent it in. She didn't have it one day, and a guy comes in, a young student comes in and says, I need an older fellow. She says, I got the old goat for you. You'll love him. And then I got it. And from there, it led to about 50 appearances acting in SCAD films and a couple of big films that came to town just as extras and that. But I just, you know, as they say, living the dream. This is what I always wanted to do, and I love every minute of it.
Yeah, and if you haven't had a chance to see, I mean, I don't know if you're doing as many now, obviously, you kind of slowed down and with COVID, but there are so many out there. I've seen probably at least 10 with you in it, and just amazing. One of our members, Peppy Strife, also does it with you. So she was in at least 2 or 3 with you. And so it's really great to see those, you know.
She was 2 of the films she was in, I was her husband. And in both of them, she dies. So I wasn't good for her.
No, obviously not. But she always had high, you know, praise for you, even though she was always dying and you were always.
She is talk about a talented actress, fabulous actress.
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
And it's just a pleasure to know. I mean, her and her husband, just always nice seeing them.
Yeah, and I'm friends with their daughter. In fact, my wife was watching a show called Broad City. Not a show about 2 young Jewish women in New York. And there's the last scene, Pepe's in there playing tennis with them. in the scene.
Imagine
You're
that.
changing a lot of lines. It's like, oh my gosh, the only episode I'm ever going to watch of the show. It's a great show. But I'm just
Yeah.
not, and I didn't watch it much. Was she was in it? So maybe I'll interview her as well. That's awesome. So are you doing acting now? Are those opportunities there
I
right
did.
now?
This summer, I did a couple of films, and they were COVID safe. They kept took your temperature, made sure you wore a mask when you weren't connected with people and stayed away. And I'm looking forward to one. I should be getting a copy of it soon. I was so impressed with the story, and I had to do a video. I had a tryout for it on video, on Zoom. It was the first time I was ever on Zoom. And you know me, I'm not a technical guy. I'm from the 1800s. So, I mean, I did it. I figured it out. I did it. And I know I nailed it because I loved the part. I loved the story. Anyway, I got the part, and she was telling me, she's my mother, and I took all the ones we interviewed, and there was a bunch of them. We kept going back to you. She says that, that we could not stop looking at you. I said, I truly love the part. Anyway, I played in it. I can't wait to see it. And what they do is they send it to film festivals all over. Some of those have been, again, interrupted because, some things shut down. They couldn't have people there. So that was that. And I did another film too with a SCAD student that was terrific. And those are the only things I've done in that respect. I have not done stand-up comedy since probably early February last year. So right about this time, I just don't want to go into those crowds at this point. At my age, as I say, I'm just honest, it's a death sentence if I get it.
Have you got your shot already? Have you been able to get on?
Yesterday, I got my first one.
Oh, good. Congrats. All right, good for you.
Marianne had hers last week, so we're both scheduled for the next one. So, yeah.
And I don't want to have to correct you, but I know for a fact you did stand up at least twice because you did it on my front porch with me outside, remember? In the summer.
You did correct me, and thank you very much. I meant indoors. I meant indoors at the clubs I had been normally going to. I had, haven't been to any of the indoor ones. And you're right, I did it there, and that was until I called I remember the second time the police came and asked us to turn it down. And I had just finished. And after you did your set, I says, geez, I hated to call the police on you, Robert, but I was already done with my set.
And we had 2 police officers come. The first time I think anybody's ever been complained about to the police for doing stand-up comedy outside at like 8:30 in the evening or 7:30 in the evening. It's pretty funny. But they were very nice.
It really was.
I think it's better that they came and made me feel a little more empowered. So you did comedy, which you've done. And as I mentioned, I do comedy on the side as well. And you were so helpful. I don't know if you were there the first time, but one of the first times, and you're always mentoring me, which I appreciated it. So you did the comedy. You've done the post office life. Obviously, you retired after 29 years. It's amazing that you retired at 48 because I don't know any of my friends who are going to be retiring before 65 or 70. And my new retirement plan after I've had kids after 50 is death. So that's my new retirement plan.
Well, you don't even have to plan for that. That happens automatically.
But then in only a few years ago at the Unitarian Universalist Church, actually, and friends with the minister there now, and I was friends with the minister there at the time, decided to start a radio station. And of course, most people in the area know about it now. It's become very popular. It's on 107.5, I think, right?
Yes, it is 107.5.
Yeah, and it's the WRUU. And so when they first started, they started asking if anybody had any show they'd like to do. And I know that you're one of the people who, I don't know if you were in the first shows, but certainly early on.
I was. In fact, it was 4 years ago this June. About a month before that, they put an ad in the paper. We're looking for shows. We're starting a community station. Now, they were already on the air, online only. They didn't have a tower yet. So now it's then shortly before I got on, they got the tower. So that it's a regular FM station. You can get it, or on WRUU.org, you can stream it anywhere in the world. So anyway, so I saw the ad and I go in there, and there were just 2 people that showed up that night, and I pitched my idea for a show. Now, I'll get to that for a minute. And then a month later, I see another ad in the paper for the same thing. So I go, and now there's about 30 people that showed up. In fact, they had it at Ron Hall there. They had so many people instead of the small office. And we go in there and they asked you to stand up and identify yourself. And I stood up as I'm Bill Cooper. And two of you folks sitting up on the stage there, you remember me. I came in a month ago. You said you were interested and I didn't hear from you. So I don't go away that easily. And they said, we'll talk to you after this. So anyway, I pitched the thing and I wrote up a nice proposal on that. As I have known so many actors in Savannah and so many comedians and so many people tied with the arts, I want to do a show and interview people from the arts in Savannah. There's tons of them. I won't run out of them. And I haven't. I've had over 100 guests on my show in the 3.5 years. And you know, you've been a guest and a terrific guest. And as I was saying to my sidekick now on there, Chad Carvel, we have never had a bad guest. Some of them are outstanding, some of them are great, and you know, some of them are just pleasant and good, but we've never had a bad guest. And I told them, a lot of them that came said, gee, I don't know what to say. I don't know if I can talk for an hour. And then we expanded to an hour and a half. I just think of it as sitting on our couch somewhere and we're talking about the things we love to do. I says, it's low key. No, you know, and don't worry if you run out of things to say, me and Chad will pop in and keep it going. It's not a problem. And it has worked so well since then. I'm just proud of it. I really am. It's a nice thing.
Are you the longest show that's been consistent running for the radio station?
No, actually Louis Clausey, who helps me from time to time
I know
too.
Louis, I was on his show as well.
That's right. He does that old Savannah Magic on Wednesdays. He was on it when it was not even on the air yet, when it was just on over the web. So he's been there, right now over 4 years, and I've been there, 3.5 years this month. So, but right near the beginning, and I've seen shows come and go, and I've seen shows still there since I was on, and it's just a fun to do. It's volunteer work. It's helping the community, because it really is. They do involve the community in it. You got an idea for a show? Talk to the managers there. They'll listen to you. If they have an opening, they'll put you on.
Yeah, and you've been there now 3.5 years. It's 5 p.m. every Sunday on 107.5. You've had some wonderful guests. I've had the chance to listen to many of them. I know everybody has had a chance to listen to at least one or two out there, because it's really quite popular, and you're so warm and so good about making the guests the center of attention, kind of like a Johnny Carson gift. Carson was famous because he was funny, but he allowed the people who were being interviewed to really take center stage. So it's really great. So I invite everybody to watch it. Now, one of the other things that we love about you is not only, all of these wonderful things you're doing, but the type of person you are. So can you talk a little bit about what you think of Savannah and how you have seen Savannah grow, and what you think is really wonderful about the area, not just Savannah, but the whole area?
Okay, as I said, Mary Ann and I got married 29 years ago. Then we started traveling, and I made sure some of our travels involved stays here with the trailer at Skidaway Island State Park, so she could see the city that I love from visiting my son down here. And, showed her the squares and told her some of the history and the waterfront and everything. And I said to her on one of the trips down, she said, I said, I really would like to locate, to move down here. But she was an identical twin. And her and her sister were very close. They always lived in the same town. They were married, and they had different lives, but they were close, talked on the phone every day, got together a lot, took world trips together. And I said, so if you can't be away from your sister that distance, I says, it isn't going to work. And it's not going to work if it's just about me. So, I'll leave it up to you. And after, she came down here a few times and looked around, she says, you know what? She has her life. I have mine. We can try it. If it doesn't work, we can always move back. And that was 20 years ago. So it's worked.
I'm right there with you. It's a wonderful place. And really, so many people who have been here for generations, so many people have moved here. It's a nice mix. So when I was doing comedy, at least when I started, and you were out there, you were by far the oldest person. I was probably second. So
no, dude, Chuck was second. Chuck
was okay, but that was Chuck. So how did it feel to be kind of the elder statesman in a world where it's late at night, 9 to 12 sometimes, and everybody's in their 20s or teens, or mostly 20s and late teens, and then you've got you there? And how did it feel?
Well, I kind of feel, I just read this recently and I kind of understand what he's talking about. Guy says, I'm not 80. I'm, 16 with a lot of practice. So it didn't bother me being around younger people because I never, when I was young, I loved old people. I love people my own age. I mean, I just had no problem with being there. But what I really had to figure out, the first time I did comedy, Melanie Goldie, she was running one downtown. And she says, Bill, I was in a play with her, come on and do some stand up. I said, I've never done stand up. She said, you're funny, just come down and do it. Well, I went, and the first 2 times I bombed Cricket City, bombed. And I realized why right away. And again, it was the age difference. I don't know the music they like, the movies they see, the video games they play, nothing. How do I connect with them? And I was determined to do it because I'm old enough to be stubborn. I'm saying, so I fell off the horse twice. I'll get back on again because I wanted to do it then. And I figured out, I tied it into what everyone knows, food. I made some jokes about the way people eat and what they think is important in food and that. And that's what started. Then I connected with them. Once I built that connection, I realized, and we've done comedy at Blessingdale where it's an older audience. And I'm sure you realize it too. You have different jokes for an older audience because their interests are different. And once you learn that, if it's a young audience, much different set. If it's an older audience, much different set. And if you want to do it, it's like anything. My saying is this: you'll always be right if you say I can't do it. So, that's not the way. I didn't want to die, wishing I had tried this stuff. I wanted to die having tried it. So I guess that's it. That's all I can say. I love doing it. And if I didn't, why would I do it? I just enjoy it.
And bombing is part of the process. I mean, anyone who hasn't bombed is somebody who is not aware of them, that they're bombing, or somebody who just has never tried it, because it's part of the game. You can have
It
the best
is.
set in the world and kill at one place, and the other place, like you said, you hear crickets. But it's really nice because not only do you do comedy, but you also were taking us to senior centers for a while and other places.
Yeah, and as again, I found out, as Mary Ann says, that's your audience. These older people, they get what you're saying. Whereas some of the younger ones, still, it was, if you drifted a little bit away from the things that connect us, then you could see them looking at their cell phone. But when you get people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, they're going there to hear comedy. It's a treat for them. So you have their attention, and the rest is up to you. If you have their attention, you've been there. You've done terrific there. And I'm just talking about Blessingdales right now, but you've done terrific at Chuck's too with a much younger group, because you knew how your stuff could relate to anyone. It was great material. And I remember the first time you did it, and when you're there, I was talking with you, and then I go up, and there was also someone that was going to be a minister, so he had the collar on. And I get up there before I did my set. I said, okay, a rabbi and a minister walked into a bar. I said, no, really, look, they did.
I know we had a bunch of clergy at one point, at like 1 or 2 years in, there was like 3 or 4 ministers and me. It was, so us two and Rath were for a while the only clean comedians. And then you had all these ministers. So there was several of us. It was a real interesting change in dynamics.
And again, that's my choice. I could go up there. I know all the words. I know all the old jokes. I will talk to someone off the clock differently than I will on the stage. I will not. I made that a promise to myself that I wasn't going to swear or use words like that just to get a laugh. To me, it's a cheap laugh. That's all. If you want to do it and it's someone, I'm talking about someone else, and they get laughs doing it, good luck to you. I don't knock it. I don't criticize it. All I'm saying is I was determined not to go there. And so far it's worked.
Yeah, it certainly has. Hopefully you'll feel comfortable doing it again after you get your second inoculation and after things kind of go back to the way they were. But it's a wonderful place, and it's nice to have such a close-knit community. You're right, because so many people use curse words and stories that you and I wouldn't tell. In some cases, they're very funny, and in some cases, they're not. But you see, as they get better and better, they tend to be less gross and curse less amounts.
It becomes a crutch.
Yeah.
If you have a slow time, throw a few swears out. And I look at it like a 5-year-old kid could be funny, but is it comedy? No. I mean, a 5-year-old kid could stand up there and swear, everyone would laugh, but it's not comedy. And I just wanted to try a little hard. And that was one of the things that made me, really take it seriously, that I'm not going that way. I won't do it.
And
And
it's great. I mean, you came here to do something different and you've succeeded marvelously.
Thank you.
But you also, as we know, we live very close to you. You had the surgery, so you were out for a while. So obviously that kept you from doing
Right.
any improv, kept you from doing any comedy. You were restricted to the house in many cases. So you came up with another hobby. I don't know if it's a hobby anymore because you're doing so successfully. So what did you turn to during that time?
The painting, watercolor. I use watercolors because they're forgiving. I only painted because I kind of like, years ago when I was a kid, I'd read the Sunday papers and try to draw the characters from the cartoons, and I'd do it, and I'd go out and show my parents, oh, that's good, that's good. But I took one lesson once, 4 watercolor lessons when we first moved here, so 20 years ago, but never got into it. But now when I was incapacitated and couldn't get out, Mary Ann was thrilled to go out and buy me some canvas and paints to give me something to do. And I get into it that way. And I just thought it was all right. I had a friend come over and visit, and he looked at one and he's staring at it. And he says, I'll give you $300 for that. I said, yeah, right.
Whoa.
He said, I'll give you the money right now. I love that. That is unbelievable. And I said, you're serious? I don't want to, the joke's a joke, but he says, I'll give it to you right now. As I tell you what, I'll give you the friend 50% discount. And that started it off. And actually Lewis too. The first one was a small one I did. He said, I know a girlfriend that loved that. How much do you want for it? And when I told him how much I wanted, he said, that's not enough. And he added 50% to the price. So it just started rolling. Other people saw it online and connected with me. Like one of them, what I do now is if I sell one, I tell them, this is what I want. And they're fine with the price I name because of the size of it and the time I put into it. And I says, whatever the price is, I said, I want you to write a check for the same amount to a charity of your choice. Don't even, you don't have to tell me what it is. Just do that and I'll take the other half. And that's how I work it.
That's really, and are you selling them online? You said you were selling them through friends, but you said online also.
Well, actually on Facebook. I mean, I posted on Facebook and I put it on my story. And people that have seen it, if they say, hey, I want one, then I can't contact them. So
that's the one, the wonderful thing about what's going now is that we have technology, which of course 100 years ago. So we've all become a lot better. Zoom, we were just talking about a second ago, how much better. I'd done Zoom before, but nothing like now where I'm on it all day long. And you obviously had said you weren't very familiar with it before either. And now you're probably on it all the time. Plus you're on the radio all the time. Plus you're on Facebook all the time. So we all stay connected that way.
Yeah, and it is a great way. Again, I miss seeing you, visiting you, and I miss having you visit here. And I know that day will come again. And, you and April and your beautiful young kids there. I mean, it's just always a pleasure seeing you guys. You treated us so well, and it was real. It was sincere. It was nothing phony about it. And I'm just throwing a few bouquets your way because you deserve it.
Well, we love, because we walk by your house to go to the park, but we don't go to that park anymore. Right. Very rarely, because there's a playground. And I don't want we don't want our kids playing with all the other kids on the playground. So we have to go. And if we get anywhere near that park, they have to go there. So sometimes we go really early in the morning if we wake up and we're the only ones there.
Yeah.
But, you have to gotta do what you got to do. And so what are you enjoying in Savannah now? You've got the arts, you've got your show. Anything else you're doing right now that is really kind of a dream come true?
As far as me and that, no, I do. Well, actually, I wrote a couple of songs in, Jason Bible from the city here, right? Oh, yeah. Very popular. And he really liked one. He says he might record one. So,
really?
And that was just a whim. I mean, I wrote it 15, 20 years ago. I said, I'm going to write a song. 20 minutes later, it was done. I don't read or write music. And I said, I don't even know what it sounds like. And I just kept repeating the phrase over in my head and out loud until it fell into a rhythm. And that was it. And I showed him and I told him, he says, that's really good. And he's a great musician. And I was proud. So I did something that someone liked. I've also written a few short stories. One of them, Adam Messer, Adam Messer from the radio station.
I do.
Him and his friend are going to be making a film about it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
About the
there's
radio
stuff like,
station or about your story?
no, about my stories. I wrote a story, a short story, and I said, again, it's hard to be humble and honest at the same time. I said, this is good. And I didn't realize it. And it's about maybe a 10, 12 page short story. But the entire story changed with the very last word of the story. And I didn't even realize it until after I did it, until I read it a couple of times. You got to be kidding me. If you take that one word out, the whole play, I did it as a play too, changed. So I'm kind of proud of that. And that they're going to be making a film of that. So anyway, that's other things I've been doing.
That's pretty cool. And as for your radio show, now that's got to be very difficult. So you're on, I think, every week, right? 52 weeks a
Every
year?
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means you're trying to find 52 people to interview, and that can be a lot of work. So where do you look to find the people you want to interview? I know in the art world, but there's so many different things, but 52 people, that's a lot per year.
Well, it is, but as I said, I had been in over 50 SCAD films. Now, a lot of them have moved away from town after they graduated, but some of them stayed around here, and some of the professors I know, and I've had some of the professors on, and I just happen to always have a well of people I could call. And most of them said yes, although some of them had reservation. Oh, I don't know. I said, come on, you'll love it. You really will. And anyway, I don't know, between that and doing all the people that we've met in comedy, I had a well of people to go to. It hasn't run dry yet. And I do repeat, I'll have like our buddy Gerard Smith, I'll have him on from time to time. And, and I'll have repeats, but it is tough to do. And maybe only 2 days a year do we not take a show. We'll put up an archive show. Once I was in the hospital and couldn't do it. And another time we had gone away for that weekend, so I couldn't do it. But I really try to not to be off the air and keep it fresh all the time. And as I say, fortunate, I know, and I get other people that have been on the show giving me suggestions. Hey, you know who's doing this? Oh, great, good. I'll have her on. I'll have them on. So I mean, they feed into it too. I don't just have to keep, looking through a phone book for them.
Yeah, I mean, by my estimates, you're probably somewhere around 175 shows, and you've interviewed probably 160 people, because I think that drawed a couple people on but very few of you had on more than once. So that's a pretty impressive thing I mean, our city is not that big. We have a city of 140,000 people. And so the whole county is like 250. So that's a really impressive thing.
Because of the arts in this city, and a lot of it obviously had to do with Savannah College of Art and Design, it brought attention to the arts in this city. Because of it, there's far more I can draw from than if I lived on a similar city this size anywhere else. I mean, the arts are here. This is a small New York. It's a small Los Angeles, small Chicago in that respect, because it has far more opportunities to get into the arts in this city than any city I've seen even near its size. So that's, again, I have that going for me, and I just decided to tap into it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a small city, but the amenities are incredible. The culture is incredible. There's so many options of things to do, even during COVID, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but there's still plenty of things to do. There's parks to go to. The weather, except for today, is pretty good. Today was freezing cold, but it's a nice place. Have you guys found a lot of friends that you hang out with here, or you do most of the time, you spend time with the art community and those individuals? Because I know when you were doing open mics for a while,
right,
Marianne and you were doing them together. And so
yeah, we tried that a couple times too. And just to tell people that don't know Marianne, she says, that's your thing. As Marianne, you're funny. Her and I, we bounce funny things off each other all day long. I mean, you got to try it. Well, I talked her into it, and it was at the Wormhole a few years ago, the Night of the Living Dead Comedians, and that was one of the best venues. I did George Carlin there. I did Rodney Dangerfield. So anyways, I looked up a skit, an old George Burns and Gracie Allen skit.
Two of my favorites, by the way.
Oh, we went over that. We did it. She had it down. We did it 100 times together. And when we went up there, we just started it. And her mic went dead immediately. We each had a mic. I immediately gave her mine, and the guy, and we just kept it rolling because I can project. And anyway, we kept it going. She never missed a beat. At the end of it, all my buddies there, they come running by me. Mary Ann, you were great. Mary Ann, you were, and I was so proud. But they knew me. They could see me anytime. But that she did it. She stood up and did it. And I said, I knew she could, but I wanted her to know it too. And then we did it once again out at the Blessing Deals when we did a Bob Newhart skit. So
Yeah, and I missed both times you did that, but Gracie Allen, George Burns are two of my favorites. Gracie, which is the biography he wrote, is one of my favorite biographies of all time, if not my favorite. And they were
quite
just
a couple.
tremendous. Yeah.
They were quite a couple. Good people too.
Yeah, and I just did a session for Ollie, which is a learning center in South Carolina for mostly retired folks, talking about the depiction of God in the movies. And obviously, Oh God with George Burns is number one on my list. But I always remember George Burns. They asked him, what do you need to do to succeed in comedy? And he says, well, you need to first have a lot of talent. That's why I married Gracie. And that was like the running theme for his whole life. So she was an incredible person, and can't get better than that. So what do you see for the future now? I mean, your head is in every arena just about.
And I just follow wherever it lands. I don't give something up if I take something new. I just try to squeeze my time a little better. But again, I'm retired. I used to see comedians come out there like yourself. You're working, you have a family. I didn't do it then because, again, it was, I worked a lot of overtime, and that was enough to drain you. I just didn't have the energy when I was younger to do it. So, whatever comes along, I'll try. And I have people that are waiting to put plays on. I was in one that was canceled because of COVID. And if they start if they start that up again, I'll gladly go out to that. So, the opportunities is always here. And as you said, I've known so many people that they will contact me. Hey, Bill, we got this coming up. Or, hey, try out for this. And that really, I don't have to, once you've been here a while and established, you have people contacting you. So sometimes I don't even have to think about it, and an opportunity comes to me.
It's great that you're open to taking advantage. And of course, you and Mary Ann are such an incredible couple and have done so much for our city in such a short amount of time for me, because I've been here 9 years. So you've been here 20. So just in the 9 years I've been here, you've been everywhere twice over. So it's such a pleasure to have you in the community. And hopefully this will pass by in the next couple, maybe months or years, whoever knows, and then you'll be able to get back out there and do everything. Do you want to go back into comedy? Do you want to go back into plays, or just going to do whatever?
Everything. I'll do it all again. As long as I'm able to, if I can get out there, if I can climb the steps. And at one time there, it was tough to even climb the 3 steps to get on the stage. It was tough. Unfortunately, that's cured. I'm better in that, but I still kept doing it. I wasn't going to let it stop me. You can't. Once you stop, then what do? I would rather keep busy.
And I know how your knee got injured, or we go down to Chuck's Bar, which was kind of the main open mic for years. And you had to go down the stairs of death there, right on the river. What are they called? I forgot the name.
The stone stairs of death.
That's right. And you can see why the incline is unbelievable. And I can't imagine walking up and down those steps if I'm inebriated, let alone even without any drinking alcohol in my mind. But I'm glad you're doing so much better, and it's such a pleasure to have you. And I look forward to being on your show. I'm going to be on your show this Sunday, 5 o'clock, 107.5. If anybody wants to buy or check out your artwork, do they just go onto your Facebook page, Bill Cooper?
Just go on my Facebook page. As I say, I put it up on my story, and if you go to my site, you can flip down and see some of the ones I've done. And again, I enjoy it. What more can I say? And if someone else likes it, that's a bonus. It really is a bonus. As I said to Mary Ann, you support me anyway. She said, but I'll tell you if I don't like something. And that's true, which is great. I don't want her to just say, oh, yeah, you did it. It's good. And she will. And she'll give suggestions. Fabulous. I really like that. But to have people outside of my family appreciate it to the point where they have no problem paying for it, I'm saying, wow, I never expected that. Never. I mean, this came out of the blue.
We really need to get you a website. They're so easy to get these days. You go onto Wix.com, you make your own website for free. If you start making money, you pay a little bit to get a professional one. Israeli company, that's why I can say their name. But it's a make your own website for people who are not computer people like me and you. So I made my own, It wasn't that
Wow.
hard, and
Wow.
it doesn't take much time, and it's free. And if you really want to make it a professional site, then you can pay money, but you can get one for free, and it's really quite easy. So
No,
I may check that out.
you know what one of the problems is? They're selling so fast, I don't have them around to show.
That is a terrible problem to have.
Oh, I know it.
I'm gonna have to go on
Anyway,
Facebook and buy one of your paintings pretty soon then.
yeah,
And
well, you know, I did send to your wife because I know, you know, I don't like to bother you with stuff all the time because I know you have a full-time job, and of
yeah,
course your wife does too, the mother
yeah.
of two kids. But I'll send it to her now and then, and figured, you know, that if you guys are talking that week, she'll show you.
We talk most weeks.
Of course.
So is anything else you want to add before we conclude?
Nothing except we're all, you know, COVID weary. However, do the right thing, do the smart thing. My wife and I got our shots. You know, that's all I can say. It's our hope right now. Listen to science, listen to the smart people.
Amen. And hopefully we'll get everybody in the 1A and 1B inoculated and then start going on to the next levels. It was just today working with a group, the Savannah Alliance of Pastors, who's trying to promote the idea of getting all the teachers to move up to their level so they can get there, so they can start the schools with the teachers being inoculated.
Right.
Obviously, the kids aren't going to be inoculated. I don't think you can be inoculated if you're under 18. So hopefully, but it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I look forward to seeing you in person and talking to you from a very decent distance in the radio room in just a couple of days. And I want you to stay safe and good luck. I hope you get a lot of plays, a lot of movies, a lot of comedy, a lot of painting, and everything else you're doing, which is pretty much everything. If there's something going on in town, you're probably part of it.
Well, you know, again, I just like to keep active. Robert, thank you for having me. You know, we're friends, and since we met, and
You've been so
it's
great.
wonderful.
I appreciate it.
It's wonderful knowing you and your family.
In fact, when I first started doing comedy, I had the note cards. I remember because I couldn't. He came to me and he said, "Robert, it's ridiculous. Why are you using note cards? You don't need the note cards." So I haven't used them since. So
I said, get rid of the crutch. You got good stuff. Get rid. Even if you make a mistake, I can't remember something. Make a joke out of it, and then go on to another one. And it did. I saw you do that, and I said, "Wow, somebody listened to me. That was cool."
That was very helpful. So we've done stuff at Chuck's together. We did Blessing Dales. We did the Senior Centers. We did the Wormhole. What else have we done? I think we probably did that Christian, a wonderful Christian.
With Colin Moulton.
We did Barefoot Comedy. Yes, we've done a lot. Well, stay safe and keep doing everything you're doing. We appreciate it. This is Bill Cooper, everybody. Savannah Icon. Again, check out his radio show Sundays at 5 on 107.5 WRUU. Check on his Facebook page, and you can possibly buy a piece of art if it hasn't been sold out yet. So stay safe, Bill. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
And everyone out there, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. And next week, we're going to be interviewing, I think it's Leslie Westmoreland, or it is, I forgot who we're interviewing next week. It's not Leslie, she's in 2 weeks. Next week, we're interviewing somebody else. It's really awesome. I'll have to remind myself in a second. So I'll talk to you guys later. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.